We're looking good. Just about ready to start. Let me know in the chat if there's any audio issues. Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, we've come to the end of this long series on the Visuddhimagga. Today's the last session on that topic. I'll have to come up with something new for next week. We've gone through the entire book, which is divided into 3 sections: Sila, Samadhi, Panya, with the bulk of the longest section being the last, the one on Panya. And today's chapter is called The Benefits in Developing Understanding. Just like in the section on Sila and the section on Panya, they concluded with a chapter on benefits. So this whole section, this last section, followed the Progress of Insight series of knowledges. And last week was really the end of that series. We discussed the fruition path, the end of the road for the insight path, and this chapter deals with the benefits of developing wisdom. I should say, I've noted this before, but just for a reminder, Nyanamoli, the translator of this, doesn't always use the most common translations. So when he says understanding, he's translating panya, which most other translators translate as wisdom. So bear that in mind when he talks about understanding. He's talking about panya. And he lists 4 benefits of developing understanding, and only 2 of them he deals with in any detail. The first one is the removal of defilements. Well, that's pretty obvious, so he doesn't develop it very much. And then B and C deal with the what he calls a taste of the noble fruit, and the ability to attain the attainment of cessation. And D is the achievement of worthiness to receive gifts, and so on. So B and C, experience of the taste of noble fruit and attainment of cessation, are 2 super mundane mind states that are available to one who has realized Nibbana. The first deals with the realization of Nibbana itself. This is the fruition attainment, and talks about that as arising either, he doesn't deal with this in great detail, but he talks about it as arising at the moment of breakthrough. There's path moment, then followed by fruit moment. But then he goes on to say it's also possible for someone who has attained to one of the stages of enlightenment to experience the that level of Nibbana again. And he deals with some contrary opinions. Apparently in early Buddhism, this is one of the disputed areas of the teaching between the different schools. Some schools held that the stream winner and the Sakadagami are not able to re-experience Nibbana. It's only for Anagamis and Arhats. And others said that none of them can, except the Arhat, can really experience it. They will then you go on to the next attainment, like a stream winner would then become a once returner. It's said to be done by following the insight path again to and bringing to mind the signless element, and dropping attention from all signs of the five khandha, and determining the mind to experiencing Nibbana. The next section is dealt with in a little bit more detail. It's dealing with what in the translation is called attainment of sensation. Some of you may be familiar with this under the Pali name Naroda Sampati. And this is said to be a state, another kind of supramundane state, and which involves the complete cessation of consciousness and perception, a total immersion into Nibbana, and it's only available to Anagamis and Arhants, and only if they've also mastered the four jhanas. And it follows generally after the one can go through the 8 jhanas up to neither perception or non-perception, and then enter Nirodha Sampati. Then there's some curious details about this. One is that how do you tell the difference between someone who's dead and someone who's sitting in Nirodha Sampati? And they seem in every way to be dead, except the body doesn't lose heat. It's no visible breath or heartbeat or anything. And also when one enters, it's said here, and I think this is, again, remember I've told this before, that this book was intended by Buddhaghosa. This intended audience were bhikkhus. This was a book written for the monks. And he says that when one is going to enter Nirodha Sampati, one should make determinations before entering. One is non-damage to others' property. One is the community's waiting, the master's summit, and the limit of the duration. So the preparatory note, I'll explain these, but the preparatory note here is that one entering Nirodha Sampati would make a determination. I will remain in Sahampati, Nirodha Sampati, for an hour or up to 7 days. I can determine to remain in this state for 7 days. It's said that when one is in the first one, no damage to others' property, it's said that when one is in Nirodha Sampati, one's body and personal accoutrements like robes and bowl and dwelling place are protected. Nothing will occur, no fire or thieves or flood will damage any of these things. But this protection doesn't normally extend to others' property. So if you borrowed something belonging to someone else, you have to make a determination to extend the protection to those objects as well. The community's waiting means that if the Sangha wants to perform what's called the Sangha Kama, which is an act of the Sangha, like the fortnightly Patimokkha ceremony or an ordination or several other things that are like formal acts where the Sangha has to gather and all the monks in the community have to be present. You have to make a determination that you will emerge from Nirodha Sampati for that ceremony. The master summons that obviously is only limited to the Buddha's lifetime. If the Buddha wants to speak to you, then you have to emerge. And finally, the limit of duration, which is a curious one. It means that when one is in Nirodha Sampati, it's impossible for one to die in that period. So you need to examine, and remember, this person would be an arahant and master of jhana, so he's someone with probably pretty deep psychic abilities. You have to determine, am I fated to die during these 7 days? And if you are, you have to make your Nirodha Sampati shorter than that, so you can emerge from Sampati before you die. So it's kind of an odd one. It tells a little story about it's kind of a funny little story about a monk who neglected to make the determination to protect others' property. The elder Mahanaga, the elder, it seems, went into the for alms into the village where his mother, a lay follower, lived. She gave him rice gruel and seated him in the sitting hall. The elder sat down and attained cessation, Nirodha Sampati. While he was sitting there, the hall caught fire. The other bhikkhus all picked up their seats and fled. The villagers gathered together, and seeing the elder, they said, "What a lazy monk! What a lazy monk!" The fire burned the grass thatch, the bamboo and timber, and it encircled the elder. People brought water and put it out. They removed the ashes, did repairs, scattered flowers, and stood respectfully waiting. The elder emerged at the time he had determined. Seeing them, he said, "I am discovered." And he rose up into the air and went to Payangu Island. So you don't want to have to do that. So we're almost through the chapter. The last bit is the worthiness to receive gifts, which is not what he does in the first paragraph. Say that such a one is karmically beneficial recipient of gifts, fit for hospitality, fit for offerings, etc. But the main bulk of this section, he's not talking about mundane gifts like that. He's talking about the gifts of what occurs in terms of your rebirths. One who is a stream winner will only be reborn 7 times more, and at most, and so on. When he talks about the anagami, one who is destined for one more lifetime, the third stage of enlightenment, he divides them, which just comes from the suttas, that divides them into 5 types of anagamis. One who attains nibbana early in his next existence, one who attains nibbana more than halfway through the next existence, and so on. I want to make a note here that the first one who attains nibbana early in his next existence, that's a kind of a loose translation that's been generally accepted, but there has been discussion about that the actual Pali could be translated as one who attains arahantship in the interval, which is one of the arguments people put forward for the existence of a intermediate state in Theravada Buddhism. I think we touched on this before in a previous section, but the orthodox view from the Abhidhamma and from the commentaries in Theravada is that death moment is followed immediately by birth moment in the next existence. And they deny what they call an antarabhava, which other schools of Buddhism held to exist. So that's been, contested in more recent times by scholarship. At the very end of the book is tacked on a few pages in verse that are a postscript, kind of an epilogue, and this was probably not written by Buddhaghosa himself, but added by the scribe. It basically is just praising the writer and praising the work, and saying everyone should give a great respect to this work, which is an ornament of Dhamma. The final postscript, is probably written by a copyist who talks about hoping that the merit of this work will lead to his rebirth to see to heaven, where he will attain to arahantship there in the presence of Maitreya Buddha. Okay, so this is the conclusion of a long journey through the Visuddhimagga, a very important central text, Theravada Buddhism. They're taken as kind of the standard for the orthodox position on any kind of controverted point. What is what I've called the high church Theravada, as opposed to folk Theravada. So we'll have to come up with some new topic for next week, and thank you all for persevering through this, and we'll see if there's a few questions in the chat I can deal with. Someone asks, what did the monk mean I am discovered? I take it that he didn't want people to know that he had the attainments, and that which is standard, good, humble, and not display your attainments in public. And they saw him survive a fire sitting there unmoving, so that they knew he must be at least an anagami, if they understood the theory. Okay, let me get on with the chat. If drawing is a sensual desire, if one is wanting to reach the higher mind state, should it be avoided completely, even if it's drawing things like animals and nature? I don't really think so. There is a tradition of artistic representations of Buddhist themes in every Buddhist country. This is, there is sensuality to it, but this is probably it's a big topic. But it's not a moral issue, certainly. Probably is trying to attain jhana, for example, one should abstain from artistic endeavor during that time. My opinion on the Antara Parinabhaya Anagami is like that it's the ending of the final kilesa in gaining panya in the jhana moments of the chuti before patisandhi chitta. Yeah, okay, this is an opinion on the Antara, the question about the anagamis attaining in the Antara Bhava. Yeah, that could be a valid interpretation. Okay, let's see. So that's the Visuddhimagga. Uh, uh, and I think we'll leave it at that. We have a short session this week, and next week we'll pick up again with something new. Okay.